All right, we should be good.
Good job.
Thanks.
Did she clap also? Thank you.
Quietly.
Silently.
Okay.
Drive the highway down the moon, past the billboard where you see me, see me, see me, see me. Ask the people for their king.
Welcome back to the Silver Nitrate Witches movie review brew, the podcast where we talk about how we talk about movies, and we are your Silver Nitrate Witches. I'm Isabel Lang. I'm a writer, editor, and tarot reader.
And I'm Laura Valenza. I'm film editor at the Brooklyn Rail and a writer. And today we have a special guest.
Yes, we have a very special guest today. Hello. We are joined today by Audra Lambert. Audra is an art historian and curator based in the Midwest and New York City. She currently serves as curator of New Harmony Gallery of Contemporary Art at the University of Southern Indiana. Audra's worked in arts advertising and a curatorial capacity with a range of civic organizations and institutions, such as the American Scandinavian Society of New York, Fountain House Gallery, Yeshiva University Museum, Greenwich Village Society for Historic Preservation, and Americans for the Arts. They've also served as a guest lecturer with Columbia University, Fashion Institute of Technology, New York University, Rhode Island School of Design, and Pratt Institute, and juried artist awards for the Sugar Hill Children's Museum of Art and Storytelling, New York City's Department of Cultural Affairs, and the Heinz Foundation, among others. Impressive person here. She also happens to be my sister.
I'm her sister.
I didn't know you had done work with Pratt. That's so interesting because our other sister attended Pratt. So that's
She
neat.
did, yes.
Yeah.
And I did visit Pratt before I was invited to lecture there, to guest lecture for
Yes.
our other
Nice.
sister to help her move in.
Yes.
have
Did you
cats
meet?
at
I was about to say, did
That's
you meet
why
the cat,
she
the
went
Pratt
to
cats?
Pratt was for the cats, yeah.
Love it. Anything else you want to tell us about yourself, Audra?
No, that covered it. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm happy to
cool.
be here, and I don't know much about film, but I do know a little bit about the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Yes, yes. Audra will be our curatorial and museum correspondent today, as we are going to be discussing the excellent 2018 banger Ocean's 8.
And speaking of things that bang, there's a lot of banging going on in my alley right now, and that reminds me that I'm gonna close the window before.
Got you.
Yeah, Metropolitan Museum of Art is something I know a lot about.
Which is
Perfect. Yes,
Yay,
which is where we're going to
metaphorically.
be located today. Ocean's 8. This is the fourth installment in the contemporary Ocean's 11 franchise. It came out in the summer of 2018 with $41.5 million at the box office, surpassing the first three Ocean films in terms of earnings.
All right, ladies.
Yes, and garnered over 53 million globally that opening weekend, grossing over 300 million worldwide against their production budget of 70 million. So did pretty fucking well. It was directed and co-written by Gary Ross, who also directed films including Pleasantville, which we've talked about a couple of times before on the show. Seabiscuit, The Hunger Games, which I did not know, and The Free State of Jones, which I only feel necessary to mention because it is a biopic, a fascinatingly strange biopic about Newton Knight of Jones County during the Civil War, starring Matthew McConaughey. I went to school in Mississippi, and I have friends who are from Jones County, and I am the proud owner of the weirdest gas station t-shirt that is like totally unlicensed merch from this movie that they were just selling at gas stations in Jones County.
Wait a minute, Jones County is where hometown is.
Yeah, this is one of the
Okay.
things they're famous for.
I really love home renovation.
I know you do. Okay, and then the other writer was Olivia Milch, who honestly doesn't have a ton of other writing credits, interestingly enough, besides this. So, like, what a big, like, banger of a thing to, like, kind of skyrocket her career. But she does have a limited series that came out last year that she wrote that actually looks interesting called The Better Sister, starring Elizabeth Banks and Jessica Biel. So that's kind of the first, like, big thing she's done since Ocean's 8. And then just to kind of set us in the time of the world of the summer of 2018, Other movies coming out that summer included Incredibles 2, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, Tag, Won't You Be My Neighbor, the Mr. Rogers like biopic movie, like that was super cute, everybody loved it. Eighth Grade, the Bo Burnham movie, and then Hereditary and Hotel Artemis, which both released the same weekend as Ocean's 8. So it was like a big weekend for like action-y, thrillery kind of movies. We're gonna get into the plot. And what we usually do for the plot is like I've got a big sort of thing written, and then as necessary as anybody finds things that are like maybe I might be missing, just jump on in and let us know any details you think are important. So, as this is a movie in the Oceans franchise, we do start off meeting one of the Oceans. This is Debbie Ocean, played by Sandra Bullock, who is the sister of now deceased Danny Ocean from the main
Does that
trilogy.
mean George Clooney is dead?
George Clooney.
It feels in plot. Like it feels a little bit.
There's a lot of conversation throughout where they're like, there's a
Hmm.
great part where she's talking to Aquafina. And she's like on the phone with her bank, and Aquafina's like, "Is that your brother? He's hot." And she's like, "Are you sure he's dead?" And Debbie goes, "No." And so
You're right.
there's a lot of speculation, and there is. I do have this at the end, but I'll say it now since we're talking about it. There, Ocean's 14 is going into production later this year and should be released sometime next year. And right now, George Clooney is listed as a character as coming returning as Danny Ocean. So who knows?
New thing.
Yeah. Okay, so we joined Debbie Ocean in a parole hearing for ending her 5-year prison sentence that began prior to the events of the film. She's granted parole and then immediately, of course, picks up where she left off as a petty thief and con artist. We see her organizing like shipments of illicit stuff to the prison with one of the guards. She goes into a department store and immediately is like grabbing designer makeup and clothes. She swindles a free night in a luxury hotel. And she does all of this before meeting back up the next day with her literal partner in crime, Lou, played by Cate Blanchett. Debbie convinces Lou to dive into a huge new job that she has been perfecting during her entire prison sentence, which is stealing a diamond necklace worth $150 million right off the neck of its wearer while she hosts the Met Gala, Daphne Kluger, which is where Anne Hathaway joins us as the star of our season. Okay, so Debbie and Lou, as they do in the Ocean's movies, hire on their team of criminals, of course, including a jeweler, Amita, played by Mindy Kaling, pickpocket Constance, Aquafina, hacker Nineball, Rihanna, a fence Tammy, played by Sarah Paulson, and fashion designer Rose Weil, played by Helena Bonham Carter. So through a very intricate plan that Debbie has created and honed over the years, the crew gets Rose on board as the designer of Daphne Kluger's dress for the gala in order to get Cartier to loan her the necklace that they intend to steal, which is called the Toussaint. And before anyone asks, no, the Toussaint is not a real piece by Cartier, but it is inspired by a very similarly shaped, larger necklace with colored diamonds that was designed and created in the 30s for the Maharaja of Nawanagar. And I have a picture.
Sounds made up. I'm sorry. I believe you.
I'll show you a picture because I have one.
Okay.
Have you practiced pronouncing that?
I would have.
Yes, I did. I Googled how to pronounce that and I
But
practiced
you
it
said
several
it
times.
so confidently.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Okay, so this is the original piece.
Nagar, nowhere Nagar.
So this is the
Oh, of
original
course.
piece. So like if you
It's
you
even
watch the
prettier in black
movie-
and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only pictures are in black and white because it doesn't exist anymore. No one has explained what
Oh.
happened to it, but it's
Oh.
not around anymore. So you can kind of see like some of the diamonds were colorful. It's a very similar shape, but it was a larger size because it was designed for a man initially.
Well,
So this was the inspiration for the Toussaint in the movie. But it was, so anyway, it's not the original thing that Cartier had designed in mind, but Cartier did work with film production to design and craft the prop necklaces of zirconia for the film and just kind of sized it down to fit Anne Hathaway's frame better. I just thought that was neat. Okay.
yeah, thanks.
So once Rose, the designer, gets Cartier on board, Tammy snags a spot on the Vogue team that's in charge of planning the gala so she can get like insider information for the crew to organize their series of events.
Just really quickly,
Nineball.
that is
Yeah.
really hard to do. I don't like you having worked in New York, like you need like immaculate credentials. Of all of the things that they put in place, her as the fence was the least realistic to me.
I know. I was a little bit like, wow, she just waltzed
She
into that
literally
shop.
just waltzed right
Also,
in.
you know that like
Not to be it, but I was like,
No, that's helpful.
this
Thank you.
did
Yeah.
not happen. It's gonna be someone's cousin from Long Island.
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Or like it's
Like
just
went to LAU. Like
anybody who wants anything to do with event planning or the arts in New York would have like
forget
wanted that
it.
job.
Yeah, it's like the confluence of all the things. Anyway, I
Right.
just
Yeah. No,
Awesome.
there's some critics will definitely talk about like the realism being like complicated in terms of the heist, and that is one of the issues. Yeah. So she does miraculously, though, manage to snag this spot on the team. Nineball works on hacking into the security system so they can create like a blind spot for the actual theft to happen. You see Debbie and Constance in the background with like a scale size, like dollhouse model of the Met, like running timed trials to get things ready to go so they can get the necklace from the blind spot to Amita, who's going to like hide in with the kitchen staff so she can sneak into her secret little workroom in the bathroom and cut the necklace up and make a bunch of different other pieces so that the other crew members can like wear them out of the venue unnoticed. And then once the heist is successfully achieved, each crew member is seen leaving the Met with their own piece of the Toussaint jewelry, fabulously dressed, sauntering down the main steps to the tune of "These Boots Are Made for Walking" by Nancy Sinatra, which I don't know if it was intended, but I think that's a nice nod to the original 1960 film starring Frank Sinatra. I always think that's a little cool detail.
I also just really like that scene. I mean, it's so ridiculous, but it's just so fun to watch them in like these really gorgeous dresses with their diamonds somewhere on them.
And it kind of like zooms in on where they're wearing their
Yeah.
diamonds so you can see all the different pieces. It's such a great, like, victorious moment. And then immediately afterward, we see them celebrating their victory, where Anne Hathaway again joins us as Daphne Kluger. She kind of struts into the scene to warn them that this insurance agent is onto their crime. Debbie admits that like they've now looped Daphne into the plan.
like James
it's
Corden.
James Corden.
It's
Yeah.
James Corden.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But at least
So
Helena Bonham Carter's in the film too. So when
Yes.
it comes to Brits, we have good representation.
that's fair. And Richard Armitage as
Oh, yeah,
Claude Becker.
Very cheap.
Yeah. So Debbie admits Daphne's now on the plan, making up the eighth member because it has to be Ocean's 8, and there were originally only 7 of them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Laura, when we watched this movie in the theaters, leaned over at one point and was like, "Oh yeah, because there have to be 8." And I was like, "Oh my God!" Like I wasn't counting at all. I just assumed like, yeah,
Wait,
of
did
course.
you watch this film together when you were roommates?
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to the theater. We also
Oh my God,
some of
this
the
is
other
beautiful
movies that
backstory. We're gonna sweep that under the rug.
so Daphne joins to make up the 8 of the Ocean's 8, right? And with her help, because Claude Becker was her date to the Met Gala.
A lot of thoughts about this character, by the way.
Good, because
From
he's
the
a
art
gallery owner. I'm so
the
excited
artwork
for
contacts, yeah.
Okay.
Thoughts from a woman.
Well, both. Yes. Oh,
So
sure.
they're able to throw the investigation onto him because he was not only Daphne's date to the gala, but he was also Debbie's old flame and the reason, like the one who threw her under the bus to get arrested at the beginning of the movie in the first place.
Yeah, don't feel bad for him.
No,
He's
don't.
No.
He'll be fine.
They frame him by hiding a big like chunk of the necklace in his house. He gets arrested, and then in another victory celebration after that, Debbie and Lou reveal that during the like main heist, while the necklace was missing for a brief moment after it was stolen and before it was like swapped out for the zirconia fake, they took advantage of the distraction to also rob the entire exhibit of royal jewels that was being displayed at the gala, bringing their original take from around $16 million each to around almost $40 million each. And then we see at the end of the film highlighting how each crew member spends their share, including Debbie sitting peacefully in front of Danny Ocean's grave, sipping a martini and saying to him, "You would have loved it."
Mm.
There. And any other specifics?
Just real quick, hopping in
Yeah.
here. So they do find the jewels in his home, but it's because a dressed up as a German model slash imported person. I forget what her name is, but actual Debbie.
Oh,
Ocean,
Hilda something.
like weirdly disguised. She's speaking German the whole time. It's over the top. Even
because
German
Sandra
words-
Bullock speaks German.
I
like,
know,
fluently.
and she's showcasing it. And look, you can peacock girl flaunt it, do your thing. But
I
she's-
love her silly
she's clearly
German.
not herself.
Yeah.
She's the what?
I said I love her silly German. That's my favorite part where she's like,
Right.
Damen Toilette
Her-
9. He
her-
put his
her
shoes in
Houseland
the freezer.
interaction. Very
When I
sweet.
was rewatching this a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago, I texted Belle and I was like, Heidi Klum is in this for a second.
Yeah, that's our second
forgot
Heidi
it.
Klum cameo in the Anne Hathaway season.
That's true.
So the iconic part about the actual Met Gala
Mhm.
is the walking up the staircase. And in that moment, they do bring in, who is it? Like Serena Williams, Heidi Klum.
Mhm.
Heidi Klum, a couple of
Um,
the Kardashians,
Yeah, like that. It's some of them
Olivia
were like
Munn.
some of the spots I was like, I don't know.
I
Not
was like,
like
you
they
could
clearly
have
were
done.
available for the shoot.
Yeah, it was like there weren't more fun
I know.
celebrities
It
to
probably
have.
they like asked them last minute. They're like, hey, are you
There are in the
Oh.
background, they don't end up being like on screen or talking, but one of the things they do is bring in a ton of fashion designers who have
Oh, that's
classically
true. You're
designed
right.
outfits for the Met that you could see
Yeah.
kind of in the background of some of the shots, which I do think is cool.
That
That's
is
true.
cool.
But so she is the German whoever of it all.
Mhm.
And she at the dinner portion of the evening, or is it after they clear the room and come back to sweep?
It's
I think
after
it's
they
after
clear the
they
room and
sweep
come
the
back.
room and find the fake, the fake
Because she's
version
got
of
the
the
big
necklace.
piece, the big diamond on her.
He goes past, who is it?
Claude.
Yeah.
And but she's disguised, and he's kind of looking at her like, know this, I know this bitch.
Mhm.
She and I have past life. And she slips it into like the jacket
The breast pocket, yeah.
wearing.
She like reverse pickpockets him.
Yes, and that's how it winds up in his home. And then the
And then
date
Daphne
Daphne
comes
goes
over
and shows him the
later.
necklace. She also makes sure that she gets that photo. But
Yes.
it is also, it's kind of nice because I thought the sleight of hand of that moment was kind of similar to her having to slip the check to the couple at the table and then they got arrested. So
Mm.
she's like slipping it back to him. I thought that was a very clever, like formal element
Yeah.
in the film of making that a full
Yes.
circle moment.
Yeah.
As Daphne says later in the movie, she's like, it's the little details, the little grace notes that just make it sing.
Mhm.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
exactly a great detail there. Yes, so
Heist
true.
is her art form.
Heist, as is as is the case for the rest of the Ocean family. At one point, Lou's like, "Why are you doing this?" And Debbie says, "Because it's what I'm good at."
She does say, because that's what I'm good at. You're right.
Exactly. That's what they're good at. That's their vibe.
And she enjoys it. Like you can tell she enjoys the moment.
Yeah. She loves a good heist.
And she says to Danny, "You would have loved it, right?" And so they can all appreciate it. Yeah.
Mhm. I also love the detail in the beginning when the prison guard is admiring her watch and she says that it was her brother's
Yeah.
and the prison guard's like, "Oh, it was like a gift," and she goes, "No, I stole it from him."
Yep.
Yeah. We also forgot Tobias is in it for a brief second.
Oh
He's
yeah.
so
Oh gosh, and I looked up his name
Tobias.
too. Let's see.
So, have you seen The Marvelous
Just
Mrs.
yes.
Maisel?
No, but it is funny. I've seen excuse me, I've seen
Gideon Glick is his name.
Gideon
That is
Glick.
not his name. That's his name.
That's the actor's name. Yeah, Gideon
That
Glick.
is-
Oh, I
Um,
thought it was the character's name.
No,
no,
that
that's the person's name. His name in the movie is Kyle.
for that man.
Who is he in the movie?
He
Um,
just played one of the security
He's the guy who
people.
owns the security
Oh,
company.
Hotline?
Who's like, it's not a blind spot. That guy.
Oh,
He's
the guy that runs the security company
Yeah.
where his like the guy gets hacked by the Wheaton Terrier. The
Yeah.
Wheaton Terrier moment of it all made me very happy. I had just watched
Me too.
I had just seen the movie Best in Show before I watched this. So
I just watched Best in Show like a week ago. Get out of my brain.
Oh,
No, you always
You know,
just
before,
watched
I
Best
know.
in Show.
I have always just watched Best in Show.
so
It's
she's gone now, and she's no longer among us.
oh
and
yeah,
we-
Catherine O'Hara. Yeah,
Mm.
that was the first Catherine O'Hara thing I had watched since she passed, and it was very like
I know because we watched it together as kids because our mom loved this movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She still loves it.
she's-
Yeah.
But yeah, Gideon Glick is in it as the head of security, and he's the magician in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and then he plays Tobias, the choreographer in A12.
Yes.
Yeah, and we love him. He's delightful.
Which are two TV shows that are fantastic, and he's just always very quirky and eccentric and delightfully so.
He's believable.
Okay, so what are our thoughts and feelings before we kind of dive in, or where do we want to start? Just like
I have an
saying
axe.
some things.
I have an axe to grind with Claude
Okay.
because
Mm.
this is what hits the headlines, and I have a lot of notes about this. Let me just start. So the crooked art dealer
Mm.
is like very newsworthy, and I have notes. Let me go find them. So, like, when it comes to the arts, what people hear about are the scandals, escandalos of the world. So what kills me about Claude is that he literally, okay, so there's like two things about him that annoy me. Not as a woman, I'm just wearing my art historian hat, but maybe as an art historian who's a woman because intersectionality. But okay, first is, yes, the crime of it all, which I will circle back to. But the first thing is the art gallerist as husband motif was a strong one in the 2010s, which again, this is a 2018 film. So, like, he's at the Met, like he's there as a guest of Anne Hathaway's very glamorous, Daphne Kluger. But it's accepted and acceptable because in Hollywood, women have traditionally married men in the arts. So you have like Natalie Portman, who they're now divorced, but the I think it's Millepied, he's French. The Benjamin Millepied of it all, he's like he's a dancer, choreographer. They were married for many years. But because he's in the arts and it's like sexy and cultural, and she's this big Hollywood actor, it's fine. And then Drew Barrymore's ex, also art dealer. Yeah, she pioneered the Hollywood to the fine art, sort of like contemporary art world, art market of it
That
all.
pipeline.
That pipeline. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. She was the blueprint, and she married this guy. And everyone's like, "Who's this guy?" And they're like, "Oh, he's an art dealer." And everyone's like, "Oh, they're so reverential tones. Art dealer. He's an art dealer, right?" So that gives me the ick that like suddenly you are like the access point to culture. You are the gateway to culture because you're a male art dealer. Ick, a big ick. It feels self-aggrandizing, and I think it only works one way. Because the only example I could think of like a man in Hollywood with an artsy woman is our Lord and Savior Keanu Reeves and Alexander Grant, who is a gray-haired artist, which is like Hollywood is like, oh my God, it's only acceptable because she's there with Keanu. And then like the art world fraud angle to me, like as someone who has worked in all of these capacities, but also worked in art shipping, there's a lot of money to be made there and a lot of potential for fraud. And unfortunately, like I feel like the two main news headlines of the arts are like $50 million auction record for like a Caravaggio, or like art fraud by this big, known art world figure. And I was thinking of like Mary Boone, who's had her arc. She was famous, like she
there's a
defrauded
Mary
Alec
Boone
Baldwin.
gallery, isn't there?
Well, but that's her
Okay.
gallery,
Yeah.
and she was big. She was like there with like Andy Warhol and like Jean-Michel Basquiat. But she was like huge in the 80s. But like she went to jail. Like she went to jail, not in like a Martha Stewart way. And like as she did that though, like she defrauded like Alec Baldwin and all these big like A-listers sort of types of their money in the
Wait, how
art.
exactly did she defraud them?
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Okay.
Because what I
yes.
said was annoying is that even though she's a woman in crime, which ostensibly we are here to celebrate with Ocean's 8,
Yes.
but she is now like she's way more famous. And for a new generation, like there's a Vampire Weekend song now off their new album that's called Mary Boone. It's
Oh my
actually not
God.
bad.
I have to listen to
And
that.
it's all about like her and her like scammer lifestyle and her high like
We're here to support women's rights, and we are also here to support women's wrongs.
songs. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Yeah. I also, as an art historian, I don't want to misrepresent.
Yes.
So, because I was here living, I should mention I lived in New York City from 2012 to 2024 full time. Now I'm kind of in between. But I was here during this whole situation with the Mary Boone of it all. So it was like the front page of ArtNet News, but also like actual news outlets. Like probably, I'm sure the New York Post had like some big, very witty, quippy art world headline.
Oh, I'm gonna start working on making that up right now.
We can look it up. She was a New York City art dealer. She was sentenced to 30 months in prison in February 2019. So now 8 years ago, I can't math. Anyway, I'm in the arts. So she frauded the US Treasury and had to pay them over $3 million in restitution. Separately, which she did not go to jail for, 3 years before that, in 2016, she was sued by the actor Alec Baldwin for over $1 million over a painting. That's all, over a painting. We don't know what happened because it resulted in a confidential settlement. Mary Boone, so shady.
Okay.
That's it. So I just wanted
Mary
to circle back to that
Boone
moment.
goes bust.
Probably, if
Not-
especially if she was quite a like a top heavy lady, because the Post loves that shit.
Not a boon for business.
Not a boon.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
this whole conversation of like women's rights and women's wrongs is actually brings up a really interesting trend that was in the reviews for the movie that were coming out at the time of like just sort of discussing like the whole concept of the all-female cast or like the gender bent cast. So like a few years before this, like the Ghostbusters like gender swap had come out. This was like a thing kind of happening in the industry at the time. Um, and a lot of people were really celebrating what this was doing for like heist movies
Mm.
with women. So like David Jenkins from Little White Lies wrote Ocean's 8 comprises, oh my God. Ocean's 8 comprises a unique opportunity in that heist movies traditionally tend to involve men doing the robbing. Females are usually ushered in as love interests, and in older films often bite the bullet. So like he was saying, this was a really interesting celebration for like women in film at the time, that they were taking the lead role and like the actual heist doing in the heist films. Um, Christy Lemire writing for Roger Ebert, because this was after Roger, so we don't get to uh, fuck with Roger like we usually like to do on here today. She wrote, but beneath the couture gowns and glittering jewels, the high-tech equipment and good old-fashioned sleight of hand, Ocean's 8 is about the power of women standing up for themselves, sticking with each other, and making the impossible happen. Years of planning and reservoirs of chutzpah certainly help, but the real reason these ladies are able to pull off this particularly daring crime in plain sight is simple. A him gets noticed, a her gets ignored, says Sandra Bullock as crew of Chief Debbie Ocean, and for once we want to be ignored. So there was this really interesting conversation happening about like how sometimes like doing the gender swap of a cast for like a franchise works and sometimes it does not, and why it works in this instance is because it involves crime and like this big heist in a way that like women were not traditionally involved in crime or heist
Well, but also
movies.
in the arts and culture world, it is a very, I think you also work in this world. We all do work in like arts and literature. It's a very woman heavy field. Like museum staffs are primarily women
Hmm.
or men who are not heterosexual. So I think for them to infiltrate a world that is already like it feels like it's already sort of beset with this like gender dynamic that is not representative of perhaps some of the other heist films, like the Casino World, for
Hmm.
example. It like even though
Yeah.
women are on the back foot when it comes to crime, I think they're really on the front foot when it comes to culture
They
Yeah.
are
and
though,
event planning.
yeah.
You know.
Though I would also say that the heterosexual men who are present in that industry really feel free to use their power,
Oh,
wield their
100%.
power in
We
a
know
way
this.
that
Yeah,
Like
look at
Claude.
Claude. Yeah,
Claude. Claude feels like
yes, yes.
somebody I've met a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
again and
Ooh.
again and again.
I do
And
love
then there's the women who will stand by a Claude
Oh,
over and over
yeah.
and over
We've
again.
seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
love the
They
first
get behind.
time we meet him in the movie when he's like at an event at his gallery and he's talking to a woman and she's like, "Well, how many galleries do you operate?" And he gives this long-winded answer that eventually boils down to, she says, "Okay, so just like the one physical gallery though."
Yeah. Can
And I
I also
feel
just say, I love that line about do it for the 8-year-old girl lying in bed dreaming of being a criminal.
that is my favorite. Okay, so this is not something that's discussed in the like critics' conversations about the female cast, but something that I do think should be talked about so much more about the idea of an all-female cast in this kind of movie is those moments that celebrate like girlhood.
Mhm.
So I think Laura and I, when you were texting me about Heidi Klum, I think I had mentioned this, like that moment where they like bump into each other on the stairs and have the, "Oh, I love your dress. Oh, thank you." It's like, it's old, don't tell anybody. Like that's such a celebration of a moment of girlhood. That's like right before we hopped on and we were recording and I was showing off my dress and Audra was like, "Oh, it's got pockets." Like that's one of those things. It's like a celebration of girlhood. Somebody does bring up a cute moment, I will say, about uh Amita and Constance, like Constance teaching Aquafina teaching Mindy Kaling how to use Tinder. And like that's a cute little tiny moment celebrating girlhood. And then this moment where she's getting ready at the like bathroom in the park and saying like, do this for the little girl who's lying in bed dreaming of being a criminal one day as she's putting on her makeup and doing the thing that I think we don't see often in like glamorized versions of putting on makeup where she's wiping off the excess mascara on her wand for like 10 minutes. It's like, yes, that's exactly what you have to do.
In a grimy public restroom
In a
instead of
grimy public
So
restroom, and like
relatable.
somebody comes in behind her and she's like giving them a side eye and then she keeps
Tragically
talking.
relatable. Yeah.
So that's not talked about really at all by the critics. And I think it absolutely should be because that is like one of the beautiful things of this movie is that we get to celebrate these moments because it is an all-female identifying cast. And that's just lovely.
And it's very, and and I think like in contrast to The Bride, Ocean's 8 is so gleeful. And I think that's part of what I enjoy about it is it's like we're just like here to have fun. And I
Yeah.
think like
They're vibing.
yeah. I do want to add to like the point about celebrating girlhood is it's also celebrating so many different forms of girlhood. Like the cast is not necessarily girly and like it's
Yeah, Rihanna's character is like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, totally.
two middle fingers to
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's just like
Very
9 Ball. Is that your real name? No, it's 8 Ball.
Yeah. So I think that that's a fun thing about it too, is
Mhm.
it's, celebrating girlhood, but in all of its fabulous variations.
I think you see that really well in the last scene where they're kind of showing how all of them have spent their money.
Mhm.
So, like, there's some that are more like in the traditional girlhood, like Amita taking her boyfriend to France, and but then the rest, a lot of them are just like really powerful things, like Lou just gets on her bike and drives across the country. Daphne starts to produce her own movies and gets to become a director. Aquafina buys a condo. But no, I love the moment with Aquafina where she's like got her little video and she's like, "What up, guys? Check out my new crib. I'm on the co-op board."
That was a moment.
That was
And so
I
like
wanted
they
to ask you. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was
No.
just gonna say they all get to celebrate, their successes in girlhood in many different ways. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
No, I agree. It is many different ways of looking at because we're people first. Also, like
Mhm.
for
We're
anyone
people
who
first.
who
Yes.
may not be aware,
Yeah.
women are individual beings on this planet before we are women.
and it seems
Um,
like every day there are fewer people who are aware of that, so it needs to be said.
Mhm.
Stay in the woodwork.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Earlier you talked just briefly because I have a question that I wanted to say for the end, but because we're here now, I
Yeah.
figured out. But when you mentioned the speech about the Grace Notes, I had a note for myself. Anne Hathaway's character going full John Cage is bonkers because it's like how it's like the quiet, but it's like the Grace Notes in the moment. I thought that was like just a moment of her to be like more poetic because she's very superficial. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yes. So let's talk about Anne Hathaway.
Yeah, go ahead. I have thoughts, but go ahead.
No, you start with your thoughts. I love her in this movie. I remember writing in my notes, I wrote something like, at first I wrote, I love how bossy she is in this movie. And then I was like, no, that's not correct.
Oh,
She's
bossy.
assertive. I love how just like of herself she is in this movie. It's fantastic. I tried to make it a point as I was watching it this time because I watch it a lot, to like really pay attention to Daphne as a character. And wait, let me see. I have it written down somewhere here.
She's a good character.
She is a good character.
She is a good character. I love how she like takes up space
Yeah.
on the screen as a character. She's assertive and hilarious. I love like the constant gum chewing as like a character choice is really fun. Even in the end where they're like sipping champagne and you see it, she's got it like on the tip of her acrylic nail so she can like put it back in her mouth later. Just so many interesting choices that she has. But yeah, what are your thoughts? Tell me some things.
She doesn't have a lot of self-confidence, which I think is pretty
Yes.
indicative of Hollywood in general.
We'll
And I
talk about
haven't
that when we
hung
do
out
tarot
much-
later.
Oh, okay. Well, so two notes. One, I did live in Astoria for a moment and hung out with theater people, and they are tragic. Sorry, because I know I love you and you're a theater person, but you're not an Astoria theater person. There's like Wash Heights and Astoria are like theater and film here in New York City. And
I'm a theater
the guys
kid.
that
I'm a former theater kid, which is a
That's
very
fine.
different
We're-
thing from a current
both-
theater person. Some people are both. I'm not.
we all have our own like neuroses about it. But this guy, the most tragic guy I ever tried to date, his name was Noah, like from the Bible. Sorry, no, if you're listening, I'm sure you're not because you're in film and you don't care about these things, right? But we went on a date to the beer garden.
Podcast.
I know, I'm kidding though. That was a joke. I was sliding that under the door, much like I did his underwear when he came and stayed over in Astoria with me. And then I found out he was lying about being single. And he's like, well, I'm really busy. I'm in film. I don't have time to like fill you in on my life. So I took his, so I took his boxers and slid them into a brown paper bag and threw them on his doorstep. And I just like texted him like, hey, you got your shit back. And we never spoke again. Anyway, all that to say self-consciousness and like not having self-confidence. I think these are worlds. And what, like, I look at Daphne's character and she's with an art gallerist. Dude, she could be there with a film, like she could be there with like the James Cameron of this like film world. And she's here with like some schlub from like, I don't know, like a Tribeca art gallery who's maybe been to like a single Vogue event in his whole life. Like, let's calm down. He thinks he's everything. The other thing I wanted to mention, I'm losing the plot. We were talking, oh, Anne Hathaway, girl. Okay. When I was working at the Japan Society after I came back from my fellowship in Germany, have you been in the Japan Society building?
I was not expecting that. I thought you were going to say when I came back from living in Japan, because that would
this
make
is after
a
my
bit more
fellowship in
sense.
Germany. No, I was looking for work. So the Japan Society, they have a very small staff, but I just was on their welcome staff while I was looking for something to reintegrate into the art world society of it all. I was also in grad school, which, you know, when you're in grad school, you're just looking to pick up some crumbs to do. No shade to Japan Society. I loved working there. Hi, I would love to curate with you. So when I was working there, it's a beautiful building, like a very modernist building. It's over by the UN. I highly encourage you to go. Their shows are amazing. They had an incredible show there of work by Team Lab, which is one of the few immersive art initiatives happening in the world today that I really respect. They would rent out the building. And one day they rented it out to do a shoot. And they all of the administrators, like, you know, in the movie when they have that scene with the catering where they're like, do not talk to the actors. And it's like they're like staff meeting. This happened at the Japan Society for a shoot with Anne Hathaway.
Which is so funny because she is like traditionally when you see her like working with like media and stuff, she's very like polite.
No, she wasn't.
Really?
Yeah. So in real life, it was like that with her. Like she came in. Okay. So you have to like, the building is like 2 floors. There's like a beautiful like Zen moment when you walk in. There's a reflecting pool. There's like stairs to go upstairs. You can see the 2 floors. It's a beautiful space. Of course, anyone should do a fashion shoot or whatever there. They were doing a shoot for something. Who knows? Maybe it was for Cartier and it would be full circle. Wouldn't that be funny? But she was doing a shoot there. And because we have to also welcome our guests, and they're like, well, for this like period of time, no one's coming in and out. Like, make sure to watch the bathrooms. And it was like it was an all hands, like, you know, staff update. We have a VIP coming in. So no bothering the VIP, no engaging. But like, I'm still at the desk because like, if there's like folks outside, you know, like we have to welcome, we have to be present. So she comes in and it's like here's the thing. Like, I don't live my life under public scrutiny the way that someone, as she probably does. I feel like we are immune from that. But I would say hi to the security guard. I would be like, hey, nice to meet you. You know, I would just like make that effort to like be warm so people don't feel like on eggshells, because you must feel on eggshells all the time because of the power dynamic. Didn't look at anyone, like only talk to people on the shoot, like no one could approach her. Like it was like, do not look at her kind of energy. Those are my grace notes on I'm sure she's lovely. And if we ever meet, I'm sure you were just focused on your job. But
I also
bit frigid.
Sometimes that sort of thing though makes me wonder like what has happened to her on photo shoots where she's just been like, I'm going in and I'm just putting on the blinders and I'm just not talking.
We talked about this sort of thing a lot, I think, when we did our Ella Enchanted episode. I think that's going to come out before this one. But she, you know, ended up, because she did those 2 princess movies basically in a row, she ended up with a lot of interviews who were like, do you see yourself as a role model, or what do you think about the people who view you as this like ethereal, like perfect role model? And I wonder if that, and we said in that episode, like, I wonder what that must do to like her thought process as she like just navigates the world in other roles or in other purposes. And so, yeah, I wonder if that's some of that to do with it. It's not an excuse, but just
Long Island.
No, she's from New Jersey.
Oh, sorry. Is she really? No,
she was born in Long Island, but then she moved to New Jersey and like
imagine being born in Long Island and being raised in New Jersey, what that does to you as a human being.
Well,
I'm just saying. Sorry,
I get a little called out by that.
No, I love Jersey. You know, my ex is from Long Island, so I have to shit on Long Island. Sorry.
Oh, that's right.
I love Jersey. She wasn't born in Jersey.
That's fair.
I wasn't born in Jersey either.
But you were raised there and you're a nice person.
Thank you.
Not ever, you know.
People are silly people. Um, while we're on the subject of Anne Hathaway and Daphne as a character, I think because you had brought up interestingly, Audra, like about her like insecurity. I have tarot for Debbie and Lou as well, but we can take a moment to like detour and do talk about the tarot that I have for Daphne as a
Yeah.
character.
Wait, before
Um,
we do tarot for Daphne, just one more comment
yeah.
on general that character. I and the whole like what we talked about before with her doing these princess movies and kind of like that fear of is she going to get stuck as like basically that weird like in between child and adult actor doing princess movies and not getting more substantial roles. And I think we will have had one of our more serious episodes by this point.
Hmm.
But we're gonna do a couple of her later roles where she plays much more serious and much less likable parts.
Hmm.
But I thought it was really this movie is like a really interesting transition from princess to, somebody who has, even though she does kind of lack confidence, who does have assertiveness, who does have power, who is not necessarily a likable person and moving into a different role. And I just think that it's like kind of so metaphorically perfect that she makes that transition literally playing a movie star.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So, okay, actually,
Tarot.
then before we get into the tarot, then
Oh,
some actually that brought up some other things. So, like the actress playing an actress kind of thing is what a lot of people find really fascinating about her in this role. So, Christy Lamar again from Roger Ebert said, quote, "What she's doing here, Hathaway, is nothing short of inspired, controlled lunacy. She's an actress playing an actress, which is always a juicy opportunity to ham it up, but Hathaway is clearly having a blast discovering all of this character's colors from preening egomania to dippy girlishness to insecure fragility. She's pulled off a theft of her own here." And I just love that idea of controlled lunacy, and that feels super accurate. Um,
mhm.
and then Adam Graham of the Detroit News also focuses in on that element of the role. Hathaway's spoiled actress is given the most to chew on. And although I'm a little sad he didn't make a comment about the chewing gum here, but he didn't. Um, and she's amusing as a pampered Hollywood star who's full of herself, desperate for attention, and crippled with self-doubt. As a meta stand-up of celebrity, Hathaway's performance is the film's example of an inside job.
Oh,
Did that.
yeah,
That's
that was a
good.
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people highlight this like just kind of the fun she's having in the role as like the actress playing an actress and the ridiculousness of that kind of character. But everybody, as again you had pointed out, Audra talks also about that self-doubt and that insecurity. And so for Tarot, for the character of Daphne,
Just a real life or a movie.
Tarot.
I I had pulled the Seven of Swords. Oh, Audra's given a little. Oh, Audra's also a tarot reader. We didn't introduce that in her introduction, but she does as well. Um, so what is neat about the this one is I think it can work for her both ways, both upright and reversed. Upright, it can mean like deception and trickery. Reversed, it can represent like inner deception, like feeling like a fraud. So this fits well with Daphne because, of course, like while she proves herself to be an excellent trickster and con artist, just like the rest of the crew, um, not the whole point, but at least some of the point she joins the crew is, as she says in the movie, is like, I don't have many female friendships. And so we kind of get the impression that Daphne feels a little lost and like an imposter in her own life. You know, she has the breakdown with Rose about like her like costume fitting or her dress fitting.
So
She
relatable. So
Yeah,
relatable.
so relatable.
Any
She
woman.
freaks out when she thinks that Rose is meeting with another actress for the gala. Um, I always they never really say it exactly in her little bit at the end of the movie where she's becoming a director, but I always get the impression she's like I don't know if she's making a biopic, but the actress that she's directing, I think, is supposed to look a lot like her. And so I'm wondering if that's like an example of her sort of like taking control of her narrative and maybe like rewriting her story a bit because she feels insecure about it. But she's really ambitious and assertive on the surface, but she's quite insecure underneath. And I think everybody is really noting that about the character, about how she kind of does an interesting juggling act of the like crazy diva film star and like lonely little girl. And that was just really neat to look at.
Lovely.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's lovely.
nice reading.
Mm.
I also like though at the end where she's frustrated with the actress who looks kind of like her
It's
because she's
not
like,
that
it's not that
hard.
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That's always a funny bit.
Mm. Okay, where are we going next?
Where do we want to go next? What are our other thoughts? So
I have a
the
quote I really like.
Okay.
yeah.
Just if we wanted to talk in this direction, we don't have to,
Uh-huh.
and we can always move it around. But it's a quote from Debbie. She's explaining, so it's in the scene where she's explaining to the whole crew at that who like at that point it is 7, not 8, but
Mhm.
when it's the 7 of them and she's walking through the like slideshow, PowerPoint, whatever. Very millennial content, by the way, to have a slideshow ready to present your your theft plan.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Love that. But she goes,
Can I just say
yeah. Go ahead.
in the year 2011, I made a slideshow about what my hair options were for prom.
That is
Yes.
phenomenal.
Okay,
No,
continue.
that's it. We all have a slideshow moment. And so she's going through kind of the plan,
Right. Yeah.
and she has this line about the heist. And she goes, spectacular, great big blingy, great big Liz Taylor jewels. And I just want to say, as someone who in grad school had to take like a history of like the costume design of
Mhm.
everything sort of course, because it was the only elective available to me that semester. If the textbooks had language like that, I would have memorized more than just the leg of mutton sleeve.
Oh,
Because
right.
great big blingy Liz Taylor jewel, like that is like you could say that as a RuPaul's Drag Race contestant, and it would land. This is I was like, who wrote that? Like whichever of the writers wrote that, big props
Yeah.
because it felt on the nose.
Hmm.
Her delivery, like if you go back and watch it, her delivery is just like luscious. It's
Mhm.
very nice. I would have joined up for the heist with that pitch.
Yeah.
Right. Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
going off of that, one of like I feel so at war with myself over this movie because I generally would say that I am so against sequels
Mm.
and I am so against the whole trend of let's remake it, but let's make the cast diverse and all female.
Oh,
Yeah.
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
So bad.
Um, and what frustrates me about both of those things, and I'm also against remakes in general,
Oh.
actually, period.
Have you ever seen the original Ocean's 11 from
I
the
actually have
60s?
not.
It's
That occurred to me last night at like 11:30 p.m. and I was like, well, too late now.
well, no, what's funny is of the contemporary movies, this is
Mhm.
the only one I've seen. I have not seen Ocean's 11, 12, or 13 with
Oh,
George
so
Oh,
you
Clooney.
I
saw like
have.
the Frank
Oh,
Sinatra
interesting.
one.
But I have seen the Frank Sinatra one, and I kind of love that. I kind of don't ever want to
Oh.
watch the other ones. I love that, like, no, Ocean's 8 is the only one I've seen, and I'm going to keep it that way. But the original 60s one is quite entertaining. And I think, as we talked about, like, there's just a lot of, like, silly joy in this one. I think it emulates that same kind of, like, this is just fun for everybody involved vibe that the
Yeah.
60s one has.
Well, I really like the reason why I have a problem with sequels, remakes, and then when you add in the whole like let's do a intersectional feminist style
Hmm.
is there is so little room in Hollywood for truly original creative storytelling
Yeah.
to come through. It is so like down to the business formula. And I think that and that's just annoying in general with remakes and sequels, and we just kind of get the same garbage recycled again and again and again. And then it's also frustrating because, I mean, there's 5 million articles you could read out there about, Nepo babies and like, and there's such this perception of like you have to like know people to be in this business. So there's also I kind of see the remakes and sequels as not just being like relying on the formulaic because the business model is predictable and that really like crushes creativity. But I also see it as a way to keep it insular and to keep new people out.
Mhm.
And then the other problem that I have is that I just think that you cannot truly make a feminist movie if you don't allow somebody new to tell a new story.
Mm.
Like,
From the
like
director's perspective, or
from the
just because
director
of
or the
the
screenwriter,
franchise?
like,
Okay.
yeah, like, there's just there's a woman out there who probably wrote an original heist movie that we don't get to watch because we had to watch another variation on the Ocean's movie. The reason why I'm at war with myself is I do agree it is actually a really well-written movie. It's fun and it's got great lines in it. So that's kind of my personal tension with this
But to
film.
play
Yeah.
devil's advocate, a film
Okay.
like this could open up the door for that woman because it's proven to be marketable.
Well, it opened
It's
up
like
the
a
door for the
necessary first
bride, and
step.
that sucks.
Yeah, it's
I'm
tough.
really
We
bitter about
we
that.
have jumped across a few lily pads to get to that point. But oh yeah, but in between, perhaps
Yeah,
there were
yeah.
Yeah,
films
no,
that
you're right. It's
wouldn't have been made.
it's a tough balancing game, and it is you really it's like you win some, you lose some. Like it's a compromise, but like also not exactly a compromise. Like it's a weird thing. Um, let me see about speaking of, huh?
Between there.
What?
Exactly. Yeah. Give
We
Barbie
definitely
credit.
give Barbie
Give Barbie
credit
credit.
between
That's
Ocean
true. Give
8
her
and the
credit.
bride.
So, okay, it's kind of speaking to that sort of weird feelings about like, all female cast movies and like retelling new stories. There was one critic, I have found our villain of this episode. Laura is very good at finding like the villain critic. And
Ooh, go on.
I have not yet done so, except today we have found the villain critic because I read the first, like, not even the first paragraph of the article. I read like the little like blurb underneath it and immediately went, ew.
Oh, great. What's the
Yeah.
blurb?
Okay, so we'll read it. Okay, so this is Rex Reed from The Observer.
What a name.
I know. He sounds like a villain.
Like, right, like
Lex Luthor.
Exactly, I was thinking like Lex Luthor. Yeah. Okay. So the little
Rex.
the little blurb. So he was basically like, this was a dumb idea to put women in this movie. And I get the impression from the overall thing that he doesn't, it's not too far from like, it's a dumb idea to put women in any movie. Like, that's the vibe I get from him, even though he didn't say that exactly. So the little blurb that initially made me go, ew, was, quote, inspired by a cottage industry of formulaic, male-dominated, action-driven caper flicks from the early Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack in the 1960s, to all of the silly, contrived George Clooney, Brad Pitt Ocean's remakes, knockoffs, and sequels of sequels, an all-star cast of #MeToo celebrants are now determined to prove how empowered women can make the same smart, entertaining heist movies as men. For those of you who are listening and couldn't see, Audra just leaned back in her chair and flailed her arms.
Soul left my body.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tell me what you think.
To bring Me Too into it, which actually
He doesn't, like, you could
segue
just
back
say an
to the
all-star
bride, but
cast
we
of-
won't go there right now.
An all-star cast of women is, I think, the word he meant to say there, but he just replaced it with Me Too celebrants. Like, what? It just immediately.
There's so much to unpack there. I also like really, it's so demeaning too to put like Me Too as an adjective for celebrants because that so minimalizes the amount of
Yes.
like pain and trauma
The whole point of the
and
movement.
that led to Me Too and being able to speak out.
I'm just realizing in real time,
Yeah.
if this movie took place in our actual reality, this like Met Gala at like the Met with all these people, I bet half those people in the crowd would have been in the files. I didn't know that.
Oh. Yep.
Anyway, sorry to digress, but yeah,
No, that's on point. Yeah. Okay. Continues to get worse.
he writes more after that.
Yes, that's just the
Oh, you're
blurb.
not ahead. Just
I-
stop.
Okay.
You're already
Um,
behind.
The next ew moment I have was he wrote, like Ocean's 13, the last and least successful Clooney Pitt frolic 10 years ago, this one is comprised of pretty much the same plot and the same gimmicks, but the big difference is the perpetrators are easy on the eye.
Wow, Rex.
Hey, that's rude to Brad
can't have it
Pitt.
both
He
ways.
is very
That's rude to
easy on the
Brad
eyes.
Well, that's true. Also a Southerner.
Not George Clooney, though, just Brad Pitt.
Well, I mean, we know it's established. Yeah.
George Clooney is he was never like my fave though.
So they're easy on the eyes, but they're also the villainous #MeToo celebrants.
Yes.
What a
Um,
dichotomy for men on the apps.
I
in
know.
2018.
I know.
What do
It's
they
like
do?
she looks good,
You start a
but I
podcast
hate
about how
everything
much you
she's
hate women.
saying. Yeah.
Ugh.
And that's why we're here with this
Oh,
podcast.
no. Here we
one of
are.
my a podcast I've been listening to lately is if you were a person who spent any time on like YouTube in the early 2010s, you are probably familiar with Dan and Phil. They just started a podcast, and they are jokingly like they're like, oh yeah, our male podcast, and like it's just really hilarious. And Dan will say that, and Phil will be like, stop calling it that. People won't listen to us anymore.
Have you listened to like who are the SNL? It's like Becca Bennett and one of the other SNL guys like started a podcast, but all they do is ask their guests what their podcast should be about.
I love that.
This is the kind of podcast by
That's
men
fun.
I want to listen to.
I
Yeah.
like that. I like that a lot.
But you're a hot mess. Like
Yeah.
yeah. Does he write more about
Yes, I have one more.
vaginas?
No.
Oh, not far
No.
off.
No, stop. Go
Okay.
home, Rex. You're drunk.
Right,
Yeah.
go home, Rex, you're drunk. Okay, so the last thing, I did read the whole article, but the last thing that I was like, huh, about was, um, it's talking about, it's like in his little like paragraph that does like a little bit of the plot of the movie. You know, they have all of those at the beginning of the articles, right? He writes about Debbie just leaving the prison. Quote, thinking big, she first robs Bergdorf Goodman of all perfume, lipstick, and lace panties she will need.
Okay. And
And can you recall a moment in the movie where you see her stealing panties?
No.
No.
I remember
We
the
see her go
makeup.
up to
I
the
don't-
counter and get perfume and lipstick, and then we see her walk out with a bunch of bags.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
But
also not
that's it.
shaming her if she did.
I'm not
Yeah.
shaming her if she did,
No,
but like,
his
why,
point is
Rex?
he's shaming her for doing that? Like,
Why,
of all
Rex, are you of all of the things
And
you
he
like? She
also
could have said
just-
she got makeup and clothes. Like, why are you harping on? Why are you concerning yourself with the panties that Sandra Bullock is
Yeah,
but
wearing?
that's
The
what he
clothes and the
wants to
makeup.
fantasize and
Yeah,
watch her do, which is pick out lacy
exactly.
lingerie.
That's disgusting.
It is really disgusting.
Men
Yeah.
who write reviews should be factual. It's a shame they're also emotional and inaccurate.
Oh, I love you, Audra.
Factual.
That's why I keep you around.
That was me making a heart emoji with my
Uh.
hand. Also, it's the podcast I reference is called What's Our Podcast? And it is Becca Bennett and Kyle Mooney.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Related
okay.
to
I like
Jay
those two.
Paul.
They're pretty good.
Although they have kind of a buddy thing that is like a Lou and Debbie buddy sort of dynamic. And I like how Lou, I don't know. Okay, can we get into the queer subtext of it all?
Oh my God. Yes. Okay. So can I start us?
Yeah.
Let me
Okay.
start us then by reading my tarot that I have for Debbie and Lou.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because I did decide to read them together. So the lovers was the first thing I thought about, and then I was like, that's a bit too on the nose. What I came to next, I think, is a lot more fitting for them because it's beyond, you know, the queer subtext that I absolutely read into this movie, which is the Two of Cups.
Oh yeah, okay.
So it's partnership and mutual respect for each other and also for themselves in this partnership. So like they are great criminals on their own, but together, as Anne Hathaway says, it just, you know, it sings, right? So like, you know, when Debbie is telling Tammy about the story of how she was like initially screwed over by Claude and talking about how like she and Lou were going through a rough patch running bingo scams, they're still making $1,000 a night running bingo scams. Like that's their rough patch, is still making $1,000 a night. When you know, when they're not working together, you know, we can see Lou without Debbie at her bar is like doing the like cutting well vodka, flipping through a magazine, watching a Judge Judy rerun. It's you know, it's working, but it's not great, you know. But then when they do get together, they come
It
up
feels
with
diluted, like her vodka.
it feels diluted like the vodka, yes. But then, you know, they respect each other and work well together, but then they also have respect for themselves within the relationship, which is super important. Like they have this disagreement when Lou realizes Debbie is trying to like bring Claude into the job.
Yeah.
They have the moment of like, you don't run a job within a job. Like if he becomes involved, I'm out. Like she's respecting her own safety in this space.
She also sees through Debbie and them. Like she realizes what Debbie is up to. And I do also love that.
And in the
fact
end,
that
she's
they're
like,
so
it's beautiful.
tight.
Yeah.
But I love that they're so tight that she She's the only person who can see through Debbie's
Yeah.
cons, and I think that that's also beautiful.
Exactly. So, not like the lovers, obviously, for sure. But I think more importantly, Two of Cups fits better. But like, yes, we can talk some about the queer subtext. What I always
Like,
love to say
yeah,
about
but-
this movie is
I know.
that I've said it in a few other online spaces. I don't know if I've said it here, but my favorite joke to bring up is that Ocean's 8. I'm not saying that Ocean's 8 made me gay, but I am saying it came out in the summer of 2018, and then a few months later, so did I.
So glad you did.
Yeah.
Just for context, wait, can I share how you did it? Because I'm in her family.
Sure. I don't
have to.
remember how I did it. I did it
You
a few
don't
different ways
remember?
for
It was
I did
iconic.
it
Okay,
different ways
this-
for different people, so I don't
Sorry,
remember.
this girl is iconic.
Well, see,
She-
this is like
this is-
interesting
yeah.
because I was just living with Belle, and Belle was just like, I think I'm like a lesbian. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and I did that for
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
Laura,
yeah.
because I came home from the library with a stack this tall of books about like lesbian history, and I was like, Laura's gonna ask what
Sapphic.
this is about.
Sapphic literature.
Yeah.
I don't think I even know.
Wait, no. So real quick,
Okay, yeah,
because
no, the story.
this is it's iconic. Like underline bold,
Oh, did I send you the picture?
Yes, you said
Okay.
she made she recreated the cover. Was it? I think it's the People cover from Ellen DeGeneres.
It was the Time cover, I think, or I don't know,
Okay.
but it was
Of
whenever
Ellen
Ellen
DeGeneres.
DeGeneres came out.
where all it says is "I'm gay," and it was her instead of Ellen.
Yeah, I got my friend
It landed on my
Molly
phone.
from
I
high
like
school
opened-
to Photoshop my face onto Ellen's body.
I was on a date and I stopped everything I was doing. I was in the East Village near Tompkins. I was just like there and I was like, wait a minute. Like the guy was like speaking. I was like, I need you to stop. I have to read this real quick and sit. And just I was like, yes.
I'm so glad
Yeah.
that it interrupted
was
your
like,
date.
what's
I
going
didn't
on?
know that.
Yeah, it was, I remember it was a nice day. It must have been the fall because it was warm out. Like we were sitting outside.
That's the
having
joke, is
margaritas.
that Ocean's 8 came out in the summer, and then later, a few months later, so did I.
But yes, and I enjoyed the way you did it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to know you did it differently for everyone, but I enjoyed it. Is this movie queer baiting? That is what I want to know. Is this
So,
queer baiting?
I don't
Well,
know. A lot of people, no critics seem to talk about the Debbie Lou relationship around the time that it came out.
What?
And nobody is going, and nobody, but like nobody is also going on the opposite end of like, what great gals being pals. Like the comment I see coming up a lot is
to women having connections with each other.
the comment I see a lot is the one that I made at the beginning in my plot summary, which is like her literal partner in crime, and like that's about it. But you know, there's these moments like Debbie describing like, you know, Lou and I were going through a rough patch, and like that could mean many different things. There is, I mean, what I always feel like is a very queer moment, just because it makes me swoon every time, is whenever she's Lou's in her like back room at the bar and they're cutting the well vodka, and she gives the girl a shot of the vodka and then wipes her mouth with her finger. I'm just like, Kate Blanchett touched me like that, I would
But
melt.
also, Lou has like a masculine name too, so
Lou
I
is a
thought,
masculine name. She dresses
yeah.
that way. When all of the other characters are coming out of the Met Gala in the fancy designer gowns, she comes out in a sparkly jumpsuit.
Lou is queer coded. I mean,
Yeah.
on the motorcycle at the end,
Mhm.
this is for the girls.
yeah.
For the girls' case.
Yeah.
She's just like, she's living her life. She's unbothered. She's moisturized. She's ready to.
Just moisturized.
She's totally GTF. She's just like unbothered.
Yeah.
For women to be unbothered, you're fine. For women to be unbothered like that is like a very queer identity
Mhm.
marker.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to add a little bit of lightness.
Mhm.
Because I had this thought and it felt like a moment that I really enjoyed having this thought. So I'm sharing this thought with you. There's a moment where like at the start of the gala, I forget, she corrects her pronunciation, but whatever.
It's
The
gala.
gala.
Yeah, she's like,
I
it's the
think
Met
it's gala.
Gala, Tammy says,
I
and then the
say gala
Vogue
as
girl
well.
goes, it's
Like
gala.
yeah. So when everyone's like walking from the iconic red carpet that everyone expects to see the celebrities, and you have that moment of them snapping the photos on the red carpet, when they're walking in, there's this ridiculousness of like, it looks like mainly men and these like 17th century outfits with the breeches and the powdered wigs of it all. And I had this thought that I'm going to share with you because I thought the only thing almost as gay as Lou and Debbie's will they or won't they are the powdered hair attendants lining the staircase to the gala dinner, because it's like they're in like these ridiculous pastel like
Yeah.
suits and like their hair. It's like I was like, this is for the fashion designer. Like this is
Mhm.
for the
Like it's
gays.
on theme, but like wow.
But it's a little much, you know? Like
Mhm.
it looks like a drag race challenge, like dress like the 17th century with your mom as like and like, you know, like as a drag king. It was just extra, but it was also nice to see that moment. But I feel the will they or won't they sort of bothers me. I'm happy it's there. First of all,
Yeah.
it's representation through not being erased, but is like not erasing it enough. I don't know.
It
I see
really
it as kind of
bothered
like a
me
Rorschach
watching
thing
it.
almost. Like
Yeah.
As a
like a Rorschach thing. Like you could
Oh.
take it like I'm like, oh yeah, they are definitely like something's going on there, whatever it is, it's something. Or you could
It
take
feels
it
very
as
Xena. You remember Xena like in
it's
the early
very
years?
Xena,
You know what I'm
yes.
saying? When
And
they
like
like Xena and Gabrielle, and it's like, is Gabrielle?
for that reason I don't mind it being a little ambiguous because I'm like, you know what? Whatever their relationship is, it's fantastic. And I'm just happy it's there.
They have a really, really good
Hmm.
partnership, friendship, and whatever else it may or may not be is really strong. And I do really enjoy that. I did find that on this rewatch, it bothered me more because I just had a hard time overlooking all the moments that felt that they were hinting at
Hmm.
to have a romantic connection. And it kind of bothered me that that was left like it was so heavy-handed that it kind of
Mm.
bothered me that it was left unanswered or even just like or just make it clear that they are just like really good friends. I mean, I'm all
Mm.
for like a really good female friendship movie
Mm.
too, but it felt a little bit too, I found it a little bit annoying, the Rorschach aspect of it, that it was a little bit like, oh, you're trying to not offend people who don't want to see that, and you're also trying to bring in people who do want to see that.
Mm.
And I'm kind of like, I'm here whether they want to make it
Mhm.
a queer romance, whether they want to make it a, just really good like female buddy story, or if they really want to make it just, really interesting work dynamics. Like
Yeah.
I'm here for all of those, but I kind of wish they had picked one and
Hmm.
just really like actually explored it.
Yeah, you should choose a side of the fence.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
interestingly enough, another trend that the critics talk about is one that we have talked about a lot of times for several different movies over our seasons, which is the like work of the ensemble as a character itself, like an ensemble cast. There is one person, so Max Weiss from Baltimore Magazine does have some concerns about the ensembleness of the cast. He talks about how like um he calls it a puddle deep relationship between the con artists. Like he's like we don't really get a lot of them like knowing each other well is his concern. And he makes a joke about how like, the cheesiness of the Fast and Furious franchise about them all being family is like unfortunately what does make that work because like there are stakes there. And discussing Debbie and Lou specifically, he writes, the one relationship here that should resonate, the friendship between Debbie and Lou, is disappointingly shallow. And
Mm.
I wonder if, I don't know if shallow is the word that I would say, but I wonder if that kind of hits on what you're suggesting, Laura, of like they should pick one, like
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah. And I think I do agree that I think more time could have been spent on developing the relationships in this movie. They really went for we're gonna do fast paced and focus on the action. And I
Hmm.
do think it could have been stronger if at least Debbie and Lou, if they had like picked a direction with their relationship and really
Hmm.
explored that and but or even done that with like a little bit with all the characters. I do think the movie is really good at very quickly giving you a sense of what people's connections to each other
Mm.
are. Like
Yeah.
I do feel like they very quickly draw like, we get how everybody feels with each other, which I do think is a nice thing. And also just to give a little context for those who have not listened to all of our episodes
But you absolutely should.
or read some of my film criticism because the ensemble cast is one of my favorite rants.
Oh.
But there's a really great book called The Baseball Film by Aaron Baker. And in
Mm.
it, it talks about how the baseball film is very emblematic of a lot of traditional conservative values in America. Um, and it particularly works as a metaphor for a lot of traditional conservative values because it is America's pastime, but
Oh.
on the big screen. But the one movie he really makes a case for like challenging and subverting a lot of these traditional American values is and it's like the one baseball movie I haven't seen, and now I feel like I'm gonna get the title wrong. Um,
Is it 8 Men Out?
yes,
Okay.
Yeah,
Eight
about
Men Out.
the White Sox.
Yes,
Yeah,
Mm.
who was
because
Joe?
it's an ensemble cast, and he says that ensemble POVs are inherently democratic,
Mm.
and they're inherently about bringing in more than one way of looking at a situation,
Mm.
and that helps subvert kind of more like, I should say, I mean, I would hope democracy is a core American value too, but like, conservative values versus like, the idea that everybody actually deserves a voice.
Hmm.
The
You're actu-
novel concept.
well, you're actually making me think about them as a collective, right?
Yes.
The
Hmm.
story of women in the art. Like, I realize I haven't spoken much about the arts, but my
Mhm.
thesis topic for my master's was on an arts collective that was made
Mhm.
of women called Heresies. And there are moments in the film where they show they're operating as a
Mhm.
collective. Like, there's that moment where, like, when they're putting on the necklace for the first time, and then she sees him remove the necklace off of Daphne's neck. And she's like, oh, let me get that. And then she like sends back that you need this magnet. That when you're operating in that framework, it's not like a top-down hierarchical perspective, like the
Mhm.
boardroom down to the people on the streets doing the work for the business. It's everyone
Hmm.
informing one another as a collective so that you
Mhm.
can move together. It also causes messiness, right? Like
Yes.
there are moments where they don't always agree, or she's like, you need to get out of the fucking bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, this is security. You're not listening. Like that. That's also, and
Pull
I
it out of the water, Tammy. Pull it out of the water right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's a
but
really
like
tense moment of that. Yeah.
when you do primary, like when you look into primary sources about collectives, you have many perspectives as well
Mhm.
as to how the collective operated and who had what significance. And I won't, because I already mentioned heresies and I respect these women. I won't get into the weeds of that. But them as a collective in this film, you feel it. You feel that they're
Mhm.
in it for the greater good. And I think that necklace situation where she then is able to bring in her sister.
Yeah.
It's like an external hi sister, an
Yeah.
external part, an external member, but still in like I don't know, like the outer reaches of the
Mhm.
collective to fix in order to solve that problem. Like
Hmm.
I thought that was really beautifully done and also democratic, but still
Yeah.
there is a power dynamic and everyone is involved
Yes.
and everyone's stretching it into their own direction as well.
And I
I think
do like
another.
that at the end, like, I mean, Debbie and Lou are clearly, I mean, Debbie's the mastermind. Debbie and Lou are clearly the leaders of the collective. And they had a whole side heist where they take all the other jewels too planned.
Hmm.
But I also like that they're just like unquestioningly like, yeah, so that's like our gift to you guys that we're actually like doubling what you're going to make here. So everybody's happy and we're all good. Like it feels like this very like we are all going to share the money equally, which wouldn't that be
Because it would
nice?
have been very easy for them to keep that a secret.
It
Fair.
would have been. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
also,
Well, not no, because Aquafina was involved. So, or
yeah.
the like, Constance was.
Oh
Okay.
No,
yeah,
well, no,
that's
she wasn't involved. It was
No.
it was the
Amita was
right.
also involved.
Oh,
Because
right. Because she
Amita
had to.
helps her go
Sorry,
through the
not Constance.
kitchens to
Yeah,
bring the other jewels
yeah.
back
No, there
into
was
the
no
truck. Yeah.
pickpocketing for that.
And
You're right.
yeah, and I think the other thing too is I think not just from like a Democrat perspective and like a collective viewpoint and a feminist viewpoint, but then there's also the like I mean, the art world is so like the epitome of like there are the elements of the art world that have all the money, and there are the elements of the art world that have no
The
money.
artist,
Hmm.
And yeah,
which that's also a
the
misconception in
artist.
some cases, but it
Yes,
still proves to
that's
be
yeah, that's
our dynamic wise the
a
case.
reduction, but there is a
Yeah.
very extreme wealth disparity in the arts. And so I also kind of like that the movie also feels like it's pushing against the system in that way, in
Mm,
that it's like we're all going to share the money here.
I
Yeah.
think another moment I really loved that kind of was like a sweet depiction of that sort of collective working together and like celebrating together as well is when Rose and Amita are at Cartier to
yes.
like look at the necklace and like get the little scan on the fancy glasses. And there's the whole moment where like Amita recognizes they're not working underground and the whole like she must have the
Mhm.
sun. Like that's one of my favorite
Yes.
lines.
So
And then when
diva.
they get up into the sun and the necklace is scanning, they're both at Cartier, and then the whole rest of the team is back at home base watching it. And like they're
It's
like
sweet.
tilting with her to like, all together to like get the shot right, and then they all like burst out in like celebration when it says like 100% complete, and it's just another moment of like just that sweet collectivity of them working together, even when they can't all be
Sorry.
there to actually do it.
Well, I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
also very, very funny moment when Helena Bonham Carter just starts speaking French to
Yeah.
convince Cartier to go along
Yeah.
with this. And I love that Mindy Kaling's like sitting there, like nodding, even though she has no idea what she's saying. And at the end, she
Oui.
just goes, "Oui."
Oui.
Yeah.
I put a note as someone who formerly dated a French speaker.
Oh yeah.
That speech in French at Cartier would have 100% worked on any red-blooded French man.
Yeah,
I love
that
it.
is believable.
I
Mhm.
believe that
That is
moment
believable.
too.
I love how like it starts off with him discounting his own language, where he's like, "It is the hard word to pronounce," and she's like, No,
Which you know that he's lying. You know that he does not really think that.
no, he's just
And
trying
full
to
circle moment.
screw them over. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I just the whole time I was thinking with the jewel scene,
Mhm.
I'm sure you maybe were feeling this way at some level. The Louvre heist.
Oh
The
yes.
heist from the Louvre. Were these security guards working at the Louvre, were they watching this film
Yeah, right.
with French subtitles? And 6 years later, they're like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, we can
Let's
do
fucking
that.
do it.
Yeah.
LFG. Like
And
that, the
I
whole
also-
scene, I was like, where it started.
Yeah. And as somebody who works in the arts too,
Yeah.
I also really love that it's specifically a jewel heist because honestly, like if they stole a painting, that would like break my heart. But I'm like, the freaking jewels that like were probably stolen from a country under horrible colonial rule. I'm like, go for it, take them, cut them up, sell them
Somewhere
for
some art
parts.
collectors like Laura Valenza hates cultural heritage.
No, I love that
Hates
too. I think
imperial
it's really fun.
culture.
No, I hate monarchies, and those were royal jewels. So
Amen.
It was really fun for me to watch when it first came out as well, because like the year before that, when I was still at Mississippi State as a graduate student, I was a research assistant for Mike Cardos, who at the time was planning a couple of novels, and one of them was going to be a museum heist, and I got to do it.
Wait,
That hasn't come out yet.
oh, it
Huh?
hasn't.
No, we did research for a museum heist, and I also helped him do a bit of research for Bluff that has come out about the card shark. But in doing research about museum heists, I learned so much about like all the things that can possibly go wrong. And obviously I'm not as much of an expert as Debbie Ocean, but it was really fun to like dive headfirst into all of that research and then like 8 months later to watch this movie. It was really neat.
That's really cool. I had no idea that you did that.
Yeah,
That's fun.
it's very fun.
There was a note just because I realized I had so many notes about art things.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're
Mhm.
vibing. So I haven't been like, well, here's
Same-
an art
same
for you,
more
like
art
a pop-up
things.
video, like an insertion. But because we're talking about the jewels versus stealing art,
Mhm.
there was a scene that I just made notes at scenes where I was like, oh no. So one of them
This is why you're here. Please tell us.
No, it's just silly. And you probably had some flags here too, but he was like, what would you do? So this is when they're sweeping the room for the jewels, and the museum staff was like, WTF, we have celebrities here. Like, why are you doing this? Like the cops are arriving. They're like, this is a scandalo again. And the security guy from like the Cartier security guys, like
Mhm.
not the security guys who was like the Miss Maisel guy. The Cartier, I think it's a team of 2 guys, right?
Yeah.
What would you do if there was a Rembrandt missing? And he thought it was such a serve. Okay, so just for a moment, let's step back. This jewelry, the Toussaint necklace,
Mhm.
150 mil, right? 150 million it's supposed to be worth. Okay. I did some digging because in the arts we can. So when you realize the most recent Rembrandt, which was auctioned off last month, February 2026,
Oh, yeah.
because of the, like, I'm not sure when this will come out. So as of February 2026, he mentioned Rembrandt. The most recent auction Rembrandt was called Young Resting Lion, and it only fetched 17 million at Sotheby's. So this is like I don't know, over 100 mil, like what? So then I was like, well, who do I think would maybe auction for 150 million? Because again, you're thinking the value of the necklace,
Mhm.
trying to prove a point,
Picasso.
prove a point.
Right.
Rothko, because it's inoffensive. It's like, and look, I love Rothko. I'm a huge fan of color field, but I was like, who's gonna like be able to nail that price point? And I wasn't wrong. We can look up Picasso now in real time if y'all want to. He's
Yeah.
probably over 150 million. or like Michelangelo, but they picked Rembrandt. So when I looked up, I said they should have chosen someone like Mark Rothko, whose prices have inched slightly closer. In 2021, he had a piece that managed to get 81 million at auction, significantly
Okay.
more than Rembrandt. But what I said, again, with my art historian hat on, is of course, they count on most people watching this film to have heard of a Rembrandt or a
Well,
Vermeer
okay, so
or Dan Rothko. So I
speaking
thought they
of
might be modern for their audience.
speaking of both of them that have been stolen, three Rembrandts and I think at least one Vermeer were stolen in the Isabella Stewart Gardner museum heist.
Which again brings me back to the only art world headlines are
Yeah,
auction prices
but
and
like to his question of what would you do if a Rembrandt had gone missing, it's like this has happened, and what we did was call the local police, and it didn't work out very well, and they've never been found
and
since.
it was a security guard issue. It was because of security
And
as
it was a
well.
security issue, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good job, Belle, bringing in the Isabel Stewart Gardner. Hey, hello, Garcia.
Apparently, if your name is Isabel, you get in for free.
Oh my God.
Stop. Have
Or
you not
Isabella. Yeah.
Have you not been?
I'm just bringing that up because I happened to watch the Netflix documentary about it a couple of months
It's
ago.
good. It's
It was good and it was really fun because everyone's got such thick Boston accents, so it's like there's been a robbery at the Gardner.
Do you mind? So I do have some art notes. Is it okay if we just go through that?
Yeah,
Yes, please.
I don't want to derail the.
No,
get
this
to it.
format for guests is mostly just like
Well, this
wherever
could
the
be-
conversation takes us. What is interesting, I will note, is that like when there are critic comments about like their critics were not really talking about like the art of it all or like
Yeah.
the art history of it all. There are some
It's not a
people who
big part
talk
of it.
about the heist element and like mostly talk about like how unrealistic it is. There's one person I will say before we get into
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
your art stuff that I do think is kind of funny. Um, David Jenkins, also from Little White Lies, talked about how he says, here the peril levels are perhaps equivalent to crossing a quiet suburban street at 4 a.m. in the morning. It's less like a heist and more like a group of well-dressed people carrying out their daily thrill-neutral affairs. And so like not like when people are talking about the heist, it's mostly just like it doesn't seem that super realistic, and then nobody really is talking about the art element of the film. So
So the art is not a big element in the film. Do we
Yeah.
agree?
Yeah.
It's the fashion, it's the jewelry, and
It's
thank God
more
they
of
don't steal a
fashion.
painting.
Yeah,
They
no.
probably would have had to if that was the like the main theme.
Yeah,
It's
but
in the background.
I wouldn't like them as much if they stole
No,
paintings.
but I'm
I
saying
do
like,
like
it's in the
when they
background. It's
Yeah.
put
not a
the
main character.
painting into the Met to like test to freak out the security, the painting of that redoes
Thank you.
the
That's what I wanted to talk.
Okay,
yeah,
tell
you
us
did.
about, yeah.
Okay.
So like
Okay.
for
I-
context in the movie, because
Yeah.
we didn't go over this in the
No, go
plot
ahead. Go. Yeah,
specifically,
of course,
one of the
of course.
things they do to kind of like tip off security to so they can like kind of worm their way in and see how what the security looks like is Debbie sneaks into the museum a painting that's like Washington crossing the Delaware, but with all female figures in the portrait, and she sneaks in and hangs it up next to the big Washington crossing the Delaware portrait in the Met, and so it kind of gets security on alert, and they can kind of sneak their way in there. But Audra, tell us, what are your thoughts
Well,
on
if
that?
somebody distracts a security guard, is it the fence?
Tammy
or-
distracts the security guard
Yeah.
because
Okay. Okay.
she's the
So-
fence. She doesn't
so
get
that's-
noticed.
Yeah, no, I just wrote that surprise, like, like sort of a Banksy moment was 100% accurate. Again, I took notes at moments that I felt were like, oh, don't do this. It's a trope. And moments where I was like, aha, actually, someone's paying attention. So that moment was 100 for me. And I wrote 100, lit AF, lived that. And I had forgot about that from the last watch of this film, a very nice surprise element and very authentically art world. Because you do get these, and especially then, I don't know, the late 2010s were like a moment for like street art and like interventionist art. Like I think that was right after like Exit Through the Gift Shop came out a few years before that, which is a very funny film that's about Banksy, but it's not about Banksy. Anyway, I'm for anyone who has watched that movie, like I don't have to go into detail, but like
that was
was
2010, that movie.
Yeah, but it was within like that's so again, the
Maybe
20
that's-
It's within the
That's
cultural
all.
consciousness. Yeah.
the 20 teens were a moment for street art to arrive, but in a way that there were certain stars, and certainly Banksy, like, being the most noticeable or like the most like notable of them. And I liked that moment, I'm surprised no one's tried to emulate that. Well, we've had other museums that have
Mhm.
had that, but having that happen at the Met, it felt like it landed. And it was a very nice moment because it brought the real world into the film. It's sort of like the art fraud. Like for me, it was the art fraud of it all
Hmm.
and the Banksy of it all that I was like, these are two things actually happening in the arts right now. Like you
Yeah.
did manage to hit those notes
Hmm.
correctly.
I
Other
love
things,
it.
I love
but
that. I think also I'll like just piggyback on
yeah.
that, but broadening this from art world to just New York City, this movie is a delightful movie if you like New York. Like
Eating
I
at
just we
Veselka.
eat at
Yes,
Veselka.
yes.
The fashion shoot happens at the TWA airport.
Yeah,
I
which is
love
so
her little
cool.
Yeah, I
TWA
I need to
guess.
eat
fashion
there. I
line.
really
I
want
don't
to. Yeah,
understand
you
why
should.
it's such a bomb because I think it's
Yeah.
so
It's
cute.
so cute. But I
You
also
know,
could
she's based off
see.
a real fashion designer named Daphne Guinness. I think so. Or
Oh,
sorry, I should say
okay.
Daphne. Yeah, no, Daphne Guinness.
Oh,
Well,
Am
it's
I
funny
cool.
because
Daphne
the
Guinness?
store that she buys for herself at the
Yeah,
end is isn't it like the Agnes B logo that she uses?
it is. I
Yeah,
didn't even think about
yeah.
that.
We're
So
gonna
actually,
look up.
Daphne Guinness literally looks like I want to show you photos of her. She's like a posh British like socialite,
God,
but
she's
she always
like,
has a hair moment.
yeah, she's like Bride of Frankenstein meets
Wow.
Catwoman.
She
Oh,
is very
Ooh.
good. Yeah.
yeah.
But she's very British and very quirky and very strange.
Okay, but we have the Plaza. We have Bergdorf
Hmm.
Goodman. We have Cartier. We have Papaya Dog.
They do, yeah.
We have Kate Blanchett sporting a CBGB t-shirt.
Hmm.
So I just wanted to take a moment to be like,
Yeah.
there are good like
Authentic.
New
I
York.
think it's probably a sell. It's and again, this is like the things about this movie, and again, I haven't seen any of the other three, so I don't know if they do the same thing. But there's elements like that of this movie that I think harken back to the original '60s, which is really a celebration of Vegas as a place and as a character as well.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
But I was just thinking, like, imagine celebrating Vegas now. Like that'd be a very strange feeling.
I
It
think you
would, but
could
I
do
feel
it.
like
It
there's a
would be
real weird way in which you could totally do it, and it'd be
yeah.
Like a
But then
fairly.
again, Laura and I are coming from like we've lived in the Nevada desert, so
Me too. I love that because I did spend New Year's Eve at that. It's a
yeah.
gorgeous hotel. I want it's just okay. So I've also done art press.
uh-huh.
So the Met Press like junket, again, it's not an arts announcement. So they do
Mhm.
so this is a thing that museums and institutions do. They'll do like a press like um so it's a meeting, like it's a gathering of the press and you go and they're like, here's our big announcement. Like I did this for Ai Weiwei when he did a public
Mhm.
art fund announcement over at the Doris C. Friedman Plaza many moons ago now. But he had this big public art fund commission where he put like portraits of New Yorkers on these banners across New York. So they had an assembly of the press. We all went. This is probably right around when this movie, maybe 2016, 17. But we go and the organization announces the initiative or whatever it is, and then the artist, whoever is there. So the scene where they were like announcing, like, and they were like sitting there and they then like handed it over to Daphne. That also, I was like, no, you would never let like an actor speak on behalf of the Met as an organization. Like the press wants to ask her questions, but this was where I was like, no, you have your Hollywood hat on
Mhm.
because at a press junket for films, the actors are answering questions about
Yeah.
the film. But like she's not like behind the theme of the Met Gala. So just for anyone that's not aware, and of course the fashion girl who's out there, you all know this. The Met Gala is to raise funds for the Metropolitan Museum, but it's often aligned with the theme of an exhibition, which is at the Met's Costume Institute
Yes.
specifically.
I looked it
So
up for this
you
year
would have the
too, out of
curator seat.
curiosity.
Yeah, yeah. But you would have the curator of like the show or the host, like an Anna Wintour of
Mhm.
like the ball, like the gala itself, speak on the themes. You wouldn't have an actor. Like if it was a film, yes, you'd have actors speak in it. But
Mhm.
like the role that Daphne plays and like speaking to the press versus her role in the event, like they're not one
Mhm.
and the same. They don't match. It's like a
Mm.
moment where I was like,
Yeah.
strike it. That's not accurate. Which many things are not accurate, but that was.
For context about you describing the gala, so
Yeah,
the theme
yeah.
this year is costume art, exploring the dressed body across 5,000 years of art, focusing on thematic body types from
That is
classical to aging.
God.
That's the theme of the
thematic
exhibit. The
body
dress
type.
code is fashion as art.
Thematic body. Wait, would you rewind to that
So
one
like it's
thematic body
Focusing
type?
that
on thematic
different
body typos, and they have it in quotes, from
Like Venus of
classical
Willendorf?
to
What is
aging.
like Venus of Willendorf? Who's a body type that they're thematically explain? What do you think?
They
I
have
think it means
Is
like
it
on
exploring
Arthurian?
display a
think it's
Delphos gown.
The what?
Okay.
It's a terracotta statuette of Nike, the personification
Oh,
of victory.
That sounds
Here, costume art will feature nearly 400 objects from the Met collection spanning centuries of artistic expression. Fashions will be juxtaposed with works of art from across time to create connections that will range from the formal to the conceptual. The exhibition will be
conceptual.
organized into a series of thematic body types that reflect their ubiquity and endurance throughout time and space. The categories will present body types. Okay, the naked body, the classical body, the pregnant body, the aging body, the
Oh, as
anatomical body,
archetype, as
the mortal
archetype.
body.
They
Yeah.
don't. They
Oh,
say thematic instead of archetypal.
okay, that
That
makes
makes
more
more
sense.
sense.
Yeah.
Now I,
Thematic. Who wrote
yeah,
this?
that
Okay.
is weird.
That's an article from the
Daphne
Met.
Hugo wrote
But
it.
yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. And then of course, and then like the conversation that we do see her have with the press is just like the who are you wearing?
Yeah.
Which is,
So like
I
not
mean,
even
and obviously that's to advance the plot. I understand.
right,
Like,
absolutely. But like still
live in
like
a
if
film
that's,
society, I get it.
she can't you're right, she can't comment on like the Met collection because
No,
that's not what her expertise is.
no.
Mm.
She would have had the press junket, like, I don't know, like it would have been like the paparazzi in front of her house. They'd be like,
Yeah.
Hmm.
something else. Like I love that they start in the Arts of Oceania and
Mhm.
Africa wing, which is newly renovated, by the way.
Mm.
The new Rockefeller wing at the Met is gorgeous. I don't know if you've had a chance
I
to
have
see it
not seen the
since
new
last fall.
wing.
So since
Yeah.
fall of 2025. But I'm glad they started there. And just to bring it into the theme of what is it, fashion and art? Like what's the
Fashion
type?
is art is the dress
Fashion is
code
art.
for this year.
I hope they delve into the arts of Oceania and Africa's wing because there's so many references there in sculpture to the performative, to performance, to things you wear, to the accoutrements. And anyway, the wing redesign, the renovation, sumptuous, incredible,
Mhm.
amazing. The objects, like all of the sculptures, the way they're presented, it feels like a conversation. It feels like these are civilizations who were actively trading
Mhm.
at the period of time when many of these
Oh,
sculptures were made.
that's very
It's
cool.
lovely, it's rewarding. But also, I hope they dive into for the fashion is art,
Mhm.
that wing, because it's just so it lands it's a very smooth integration of that theme
Mm.
through that wing. And they do have as we all know, they have for me, the most incredible collection, other than maybe the Hermitage in St. Petersburg, which I have been to. But the Met, I think, is really like, especially in the US, all tea, all shade to every other US museum. I think the Metropolitan Museum of Art is the best one in the United States, but that's
I
just
love
me.
it.
Uh, while we're talking about fashion, I love the little character arc for Rose Weil, the fashion designer, so Daphne's dress for the gala is this like hot pink, like is it like some sort of satin? Spells the fabric expert.
It's not satin, it's not shiny. I don't know what I would call that fabric, but it's like
Okay.
a matte pink.
But it's thick and luxurious and
Yeah.
like very, and she's got this cape that feels very, in theme with the royal families
Hmm.
of Europe kind of vibe that they're going for. And I love and that there's a moment where they're planning the dress and she's got her in like kind of like just like some sort of white.
Oh yeah, she's got her in a mock-up made of
Yeah,
muslin. So it's
'cause
just white fabric to give
now
her the shape.
she
Yeah.
made the necklace out of like
Safety
Safety
pin.
pins.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I love that when you see her window display in her store at the end, she has the
It's
mock-up
the safety
dresses
pin
and like the
necklace.
safety pins. And I like that kind of like I mean this whole movie is about, the heist and the con and kind of the inside job. And so I like that at the end her arc is kind of making the process visible.
Mm.
I thought that
Hmm.
was
Also very
beautiful.
conceptual.
Yes.
Very artistic, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do like too, as we see Rose throughout the movie doing like her actual job. Like when they're doing the slideshow presentation, you see her sitting on the couch and she's like hand sewing something as a
Yeah.
part of the dress. She's like sewing on hand details. You see her whenever they're getting her Daphne ready for the ball, the gala. She's got like a little like seamstress apron around her waist that's got like her scissors and her pins and stuff in there. She's got three pairs of glasses on her head at one point that I'm assuming are
Relatable.
like different magnification levels so she can see the fine details. I do love that we actually see her like doing the ground, like the grunt work of like making a garment throughout the
Mhm.
movie. That's really fun. As someone who also
Now we're
makes
coming back
garments.
to something that okay, so because you're a
Mhm. Seamstress,
I don't know.
sewist, whatever
What's
you
the
want to call
best
it.
word? Okay,
Yeah.
because you work with fabric and because
Mhm.
you have a high acumen for these things.
Bella's a fiber artist.
You
Fiber
are. Oh my
artist. That's the word. Yes.
God. And I've collected your work too.
Mhm.
This is a question I want to ask earlier. And it, it's for me something that I've thought about since I watched the film a few days ago. Um, do you feel like you're Rosebud? Like in the end sequence when they show everyone living their dreams, right? Who are you in that
Oh, I love
sequence?
that
Because
question.
well, you want to identify, like again, it's
Mhm.
ensemble. You're like, we as women are like, what's going on? Do you feel like you're Rose? I felt like I was Rose because no, okay. So I want you to, so I'll explain mine, and then while you're chewing on it, I felt like Rose because I'm older, but also I feel like in the arts you often have to like sort of
Young.
I'm not even 40, it's fine. But what I'm saying, I'm the oldest one here. But what I'm saying is what happens and the feel any I think any I can speak and say any creative field, what happens is you're often thrust to being like a jack or Jill of all trades,
Mm.
where it's like you're finding
Mhm.
something that like maybe you're writing like marketing copy, but then you're working on your other writing because I'm also a writer. So it's like these things where you're trying to like find a way to piece everything together. And I felt that so trenchantly with
She's
Rose.
literally
She's
piecing it all
tragic.
together.
She's like, I'm
stitching
gonna
it
go to
together.
jail. I have no money. Like I owe so much money. And she like at her fashion show, she's like in the corner crumpled up and crying
With
about
her
how
giant jar of Nutella.
failure. Yeah, which also
Yeah.
relatable.
I also like that they're like, maybe you shouldn't have like bought the yacht or something, but I'm also kind of like, I
Buy the
like,
yacht.
I know
Buy the
I
yacht.
like though too, being like, oh my God, I do have some money. I want to go do something fun because
Yeah.
like she clearly has worked really
Very
hard too.
relatable.
Yeah.
So that was my, but who were you? I wanted to know what for each of you, if you had
I mean, I see myself more as like Constance or Debbie at the end. Like just
Mm.
like enjoying a job well done and like just
I'm on the
living.
co-op board.
I'm on the co-op board, just like living a little happy
I could see
life.
Belle on the co-op
I
board.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You be president
Skateboarding through my apartment.
with Gus.
There you go.
Gus has his
He has
own
his own skateboard.
board. Yeah.
Okay, Laura, what about you?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. The case you make for Rose does make me feel very connected to her because I do think that I'm very like career and craftsmanship and artistry that all kind of like jives for me. But I think the person who I looked at who is the most like, yeah, that's what I'd like to be doing was actually Lou.
Yeah, I thought it was Lou.
I was like,
I knew it would say Lou.
this is like so cool. And she's like, what is she like on the California coast or whatever?
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever do a motorcycle, but I'd want the convertible version, whatever is the
There
cool
you go.
convertible version of her motorcycle. But I think if I had that money, that's probably the first thing I'd do is book a ticket out to California and buy myself a convertible and drive up the coast and
Oh.
stand at the gas station sipping my Coca-Cola like I'm in a Joan Didion novel.
Mm.
So then maybe on this point, this is a good place for us to kind of like wrap up and talk about our final thoughts and feelings
Mm.
about the movie. What are you thinking? Any final thoughts you would have to say about the film, about any of the critics we've talked about?
Yes. Okay. So I had a big thought while watching this movie, but well, I like wordplay and puns.
Mhm.
And I got
Yes.
very interested in the word inside
Ah.
because it's used as like the inside job in this movie. It's also inside like the prison, when inside
Mm.
you're in prison. Which
You're
also
in the
I'll just
system. Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'll also say too that opening scene was very opening of The Godfather, and I really appreciated that.
A film critic, of
Yeah.
course.
And but also being inside is like being in like only insiders get to go to the Met Gala.
Yeah.
And I was like, isn't that so interesting? The work of a word like inside in the English language, that it can be both actually being completely excluded from society or being the power broker of society. So that was my concluding thought about Ocean's 8.
Well, and here it actually
Mhm.
functions as a way to show how people think they're on the outside. Like from
Mhm.
the outside looking in, someone like a Daphne, everyone thinks she's like in the mix.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm sure
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, she's in it, like she's in the world. But then you hear her saying like, well, I don't really have many female friendships. Like she
Yeah.
doesn't like she feels like like each of them feels like an outsider. Like you can see that in
Yes.
Claude,
Mhm.
you can see that in Daphne.
Mhm.
So like who is on the inside?
Right.
Who is?
I mean, we talked about Daphne's insecurities a lot, but really all of them seem to
All of
have
them.
some sort of
Yeah,
chip on their shoulder or
absolutely.
Well, look at
insecurity.
Debbie and her brother.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
I feel like we haven't really talked about Debbie much. Sorry, we spent a lot of time talking about Daphne.
Well, yeah, because it's the Anne Hathaway season, so
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
yeah,
and
yes.
I mean, you would only do an inside job like a heist if you felt like an outsider,
yeah.
you know? Yeah.
Aw. But no, yeah, you're right. They're all a little lost in their own way. Like, Lou and Debbie are a little lost, like, without each other. Tammy is
Out
like
in the suburbs. That was
out
my
in the
favorite.
suburbs, but
Her real
still running
garage.
cons in her garage.
How do you explain this to your
Amazing.
husband?
eBay.
eBay?
Yeah.
Amita feels like really stuck with her family, like,
Yeah.
under the thumb of her mother. Constance, I think we're supposed to get the impression, I don't think we get the impression that she's homeless, but she's like,
Mm.
she's kind of just
She's
like
hustling. She's
getting
hustling.
by. She's hustling. Nine Ball, we don't really know much about, so I don't know what about.
Well,
And
we
I
know
think that's
that
kind of
she
the point.
has a really good relationship with her little sister, and
That's
that they're
true.
both like weirdly geniuses.
Yeah,
Don't you
but
love
maybe
when that
Nine Ball's
happens?
thing is
Yeah.
that like she is like purposefully puts herself in a mysterious place. So everybody's got their own. And then Rose, of course,
Nine
just
Ball
feels
doesn't
like she's a
let people
failure.
inside to bring it back.
There
Yeah.
you go. So yeah, you're right. They're all on the outside in their own little way, for sure. And that's what makes them work well together.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, I always like to as well, in addition to the like critic reviews, I always like to sprinkle in a fun handful of little user reviews from IMDb because I think they're always entertaining. So a couple of my favorites were Ocean's 8, more like Ocean's eh.
Rude.
That's
Um,
fun.
then the next
No,
one, the
really
next one is Don't Listen to the Haters. Fun movie, worth a watch.
Aw, yay.
And then my favorite that we've also touched on here, it was in all caps. This is for the little girls who aspire to become a criminal.
Yes.
So,
I also have to say the whole like the little girls who aspire to become a criminal thing gives me real even cowgirls get the blues vibe, and it's like for all the little girls who want to be cowgirls, and then they find out that cowgirls don't even exist, and they're like, we're bringing back the cowgirl, which if they did at all intentionally mean to reference even cowgirls get the blues, that would be another argument for queer coding too in this movie.
yes, right. Yes, that's right. Because it's going to be in our eventual gay cowboy movie season
Yes.
that we have someday.
Ooh. I do want to circle back and say, like,
Yeah.
I think earlier, Bill, that you mentioned, like, one thing that's important about this film, even through the auspices of it having to fit this format of being a franchise and like yada yada yada. But you do mention that every girl or like each one of the characters is allowed to be an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like if there's a place I want to land with this film, it's like the idea that like you can be a hacker or like somebody who does like some petty crime and like on the streets, or you're like a fashion designer, and that in no way, shape, or form like pollutes or corrupts the idea of like womanhood and like being able to be the best in your field, whatever that chosen field may be. And also the fact that they all get to be the best there together, where there's not other elements. Like it's like the power dynamic, it's not perfect. There's intersectionality and you have to consider all these things, but like they're allowed to shine each in their own way. And there's like no fixed set of determined ideas of how they have to do that. And that's just really beautiful.
And they are all able to achieve something together that
Mhm.
none of them could do alone.
Alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Going back to the whole Two of Cups thing. They succeed a little all on their own, but together, it just sings.
And they do celebrate inside. They're inside their
That's
apartment.
true.
Oh
That's
yeah,
like-
inside the bar. Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there's a job inside of the job. There's
Yeah.
a job inside's happening.
Oh yeah.
Like the apartment too. The apartment's like an old theater with a stage. So I also love the emphasis on the like performativity of this. Like the facade and then what's actually going on behind the scenes.
Mhm, yeah. Although, as
Goes
they
back to
say,
Rose Violin finally like exposing the process of making the dresses at the end. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm
No, I
getting,
love
like
that.
real into like I'm playing the English literature.
Yeah.
Let's
I didn't know
That's
this was
fair.
an old theater.
yeah.
It sort of reminded me of where they live in
stage
All Dogs Go to Heaven, where they're like in that shitty like Sorry. I thought it was like a dump.
Laura did text me that she would love to find a bit of real estate, like the abandoned old theater that Lou lives in, and I responded with, "Well, it's going to be a bitch to heat."
Oh yeah, no artist that would like that.
To which I was like, this apartment is so overheated all the time.
Oh,
Like
right
I
here.
actually
The
have to
radiator.
like get I
Yep.
Well, that's the joke that everybody makes when they go into her theater, is like everybody who comes in is
So
like,
I told Belle, I'm like, that's fine. Don't turn the heat on. I'll freeze. I'd rather
Space
be
heaters.
freezing after being this hot for
Oh,
so
yeah.
long.
all right. So, you can find your Silver Nitrate Witches on various online platforms at LJ Valenza and at BellLang303. Audra, where can people find you online?
Yeah, so I live in the real world mostly. I am in the middle of transitioning my work independently as a curator. But if you Google Audra Lambert, Audra Verna Lambert, I've written plenty of arts criticism. I'm in the arts press milieu, and I'm on Instagram as always, Audra, but I am private. So do with that what you will. But it's been a pleasure to be here today and speak about this film and bring some arts lore into the conversation.
Yay, it was so fun having you. Yeah.
Thanks so much to Fine Motor for the use of their songs Highway Moon and Movie. You can check out more about the band at finemotormusic.com. Thanks for listening, stay witchy, and keep watching movies.
And keep committing crimes.